Lou,
Yes.
we're stood in the middle or rather on the edge of a field here, which until last year was full of a Bramley orchard.
Bramley apples, yes. They've been a Bramley orchard for 30 plus years, coming to the end of its economic life. And so we needed a new plan for it, and this is what we've created here, which is the start of Dovetropolis.
Okay, so Dovetropolis, this is a brilliant concept. You're basically hoping to create the perfect habitat for turtle doves.
Yes, that's the plan, and that's what it's specifically designed to do. And there's a range of countryside stewardship options which are designed to complement each other, and we hope that we can bring doves in and give a model for other landowners to follow if they want to increase the population of the bird.
Okay, so I'll come on to the why in a minute, but firstly the what of what you've actually done here. So you've left a couple of bits of sort of 2 stands of Bramley apple trees in the middle, and then the rest of it you've grubbed out, and then at the moment just let it get on with it.
Yes, we're great fans of natural regen of plant and plant material. We have got to provide a mix of different sward heights, and we have areas of Dovetropolis which will be specifically cultivated to generate and grow on the arable weed that brings in the seeds that the birds like to eat. Mm-hmm. And in this low place just over there, we're going to be digging a small scrape to provide the water they need, because they're seed-eating birds and they need water to take in with the seeds.
And so looking across the field here, I can see thistles and buttercups and nettles and all sorts of other bits and pieces. Is this is just sort of like the first year? Are you going to actively plant different stuff in here, or are you going to just let it do it completely of its own will?
I think we'll see how it develops. The trees are left there so that scrub and forms around these trees, because you want to end up with these patches of impenetrable scrub that the birds like to nest into. They like to have an impenetrable thorny mass that they can hide in and away from predators, because obviously there's a lot of predators around want to eat up a turtle dove.
And the why? Why are you doing this?
Because if we don't do it, the bird may become extinct, not just in the UK but internationally. It's internationally threatened, and because it's such an iconic Marden bird that we all grew up hearing call, it seems the right thing to do to try and protect it, to encourage it, to help it, so that it can go back and repopulate other areas of the country.
Because this piece of land here, this area around here, this is your whole life, isn't it? You've grown up.
Yes, somebody said to me I was hefted like a sheep in the Lake District. The Low Weald is such a fantastic place, so under-recognised by naturalists and by the general public as being an absolute haven for biodiversity, which it is. And to me it just seems ridiculous that people don't understand how important this landscape is.
So just give me a little kind of a picture, if you like, of what your life like when you were a little girl, when you were growing up round here.
I was a very untidy little girl, very interested in being outside. I would frequently fall in ponds, and I did fall in a pond deliberately when I had to go to a ballet class when I was 4. But it was a mix. It was a very much a farming community. We've got a lot of family that are farmers, and I think the small farms around here were ideal in the old days for biodiversity, because of the diversity of crops and livestock we had. Mm-hmm. As we grew up, the push for mass food and mass arable meant that we started losing these things. And some of what drives me is to recapture some of the wildflowers that we've lost and I remember as a child.
So that's really the thing, isn't it? That you've kind of lived through that whole revolution, I guess, in the 70s and 80s when hedgerows were being grubbed up left, right and centre.
We
when
were
they're
being
all
paid to take them out.
Mm-hmm.
And our fathers, my father started farming. He had to come home, left school in the war, to come back and be the economic miracle, the farming miracle to feed a starving continent. So they all grew up with the more food we could get out of the land, the better. And that's what we got better at doing in the 60s and 70s. We got better at producing food, and then suddenly we had too much food and we lost a lot of our biodiversity. So we're trying to sort of reset things and recover things and restore things.
So it's a genuinely personal mission for you.
Yeah, of course it is. Otherwise, why would I spend so much time and do it in such a nuanced way? Because I can see the results, because we have the naturalists on the farm to show us that it is working, what we're doing works, and it works quite quickly, and that's quite potent.
So, Christine, let's bring you into it. You're a neighbouring farmer.
Yes.
Lou's neighbour. And you already have turtle doves on your land.
Yes, we do. Yes, we have Trevor, the turtle dove, who comes back every year.
What's your story? You know, we were just hearing from Lou there about how she lived through that kind of farming revolution. Have you got a similar experience? What's your motivations for doing stuff?
We're a big arable farm, so our main thing is providing food, but we're very much locating the options that are available to us under the countryside stewardship schemes. We think sensibly, but we're looking at it as a whole ecosystem as well. So we're trying to get the pollinators there. We're trying to get the good bugs that'll eat the bad bugs that are in our crops. We're trying to use less pesticides, insecticides, so we are encouraging things on the farm that will help with that. Yes, and I think we're trying to be slightly less intensive, maybe.
Because you've got what, sort of 1,500, 1,600 acres of arable land?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Okay, and so the pressures that you're under then, have you still got that pressure to maximise yield on everything, and you've got to kind of push back against it to let a bit of nature in, or has the balance shifted at all?
I think the balance has shifted a bit. We are still trying to maximise our yields, but what we've done is taken our best bits of producing land and use them for the food production, and we've taken the more marginal land and we're using that in a better way. We've got buffer strips everywhere. Every watercourse on our farm is protected in some way. They go from 6 metre margins to a 24 metre margin in some bits. That's on the lesser T's, which goes into the belt, which is an SSSI. So we've put them all very strategic places. We protect all our hedges, we protect our woodlands, and we're allowing woodland. So we've had grass margins for 25 years actually. So now we've made them into next to a wood. They've become our woodland margins, and so they will hopefully scrub up a bit. So we get Lou's been doing a lot of natural woodland regeneration. Mm-hmm. And so then we've moved our grass margins out a bit. It's also good farming wise, because where you're next to a wood, you get a lot of shade. You don't actually, and you get a lot of rabbits. You don't actually get the good crop there. So we're moving it all into the middle a bit. So we're growing the food in the middle, and we're doing more sensible things on the outside, where most of the sensitive habitats are, and it just makes sense to us.
And you, you've mentioned Trevor, your pet turtle dove. He keeps coming back, and he just sits on the wires outside the house.
Yeah, it sits on wires, or he perches on bare branches. They like bare trees so we've got an oak which is half dead, and he loves that. Yeah, perches there or on the wire. Yes.
And what is it about turtle doves that you love?
Well, I think it's cool, as you said. They're only here in the summer, so it's a real summertime thing you remember from childhood. Yeah.
And I guess they're a kind of an indicator, aren't they, that if you've got turtle doves, if they can get a foothold here, all sorts of other stuff will be able to as well.
Yes, we recently went on a walkover in Shaddockshurst, and they've got nightingales, and we discussed their habitat for the nightingales and what they like, and then they came to us and saw what turtle doves like. So the idea also, as we are successful in Marden, hopefully they will spread, and so the neighbouring farmers have to provide the habitat if they're successful and more turtle doves come back, they're each going to need their own territory. The male has a territory, about 300 metres, they say. So he doesn't like other males in that territory, so he'll chase them off. So then the newcomers, or the successful breedings, will need a new territory. So we need that habitat, and the same with the nightingales. They've got a successful nightingale thing, so they're saying if you provide the habitat now, hopefully it will start spreading out. So we'll have more strongholds.
And what do you think about what Lou is doing here with this field, creating Dovetropolis?
Yeah, it's great, and she's gone about it this way, and we do more with our arable options. So we have a lot of arable options on at Moatlands, where we have Trev and his mate is Tallulah. Things like the pollen and nectar, we have lots of different options there to help all birds, all farmland birds. We have a lot of red list farmland birds around Marden.
Yeah,
loads of them.
Yeah, loads of them. Yeah, I think
skylarks and yellowhammers.
Yeah, yellowhammers is really common. Yeah, I mean we're on the same page. You know, there's more than one way to skin a cat, isn't there? And we're using our farms and our businesses to a common sort of goal, and that's the fascination, because learning from Christine. I'm not sure she's got much to learn from me, but learning from other farmers, and you think, oh, of course, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, some of it is experimenting, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, we're using the options available and experimenting, see what works.
Because we're using the options, and Natural England are sort of like the godfathers saying, well, Christine's doing this, so why don't you do that? So there's a lot of coordination happening with them as well, isn't there?
Oh yeah, that makes total sense now with our Marden cluster, that we're trying to coordinate more.
Yeah.
Because we're all being individual farmers, and Lou has badgered us all into talking to one another a bit more and seeing what's going on. Because there's, it's great to provide the habitat, but at some points it's pointless feeding birds on one side of a hedge if your neighbour is also feeding them on the other side. They're getting too much, and it's a kind of a waste of the taxpayers' money in that case. But so we try and do things on a more of a landscape recovery now.
Yeah, we are. Yes, it's sort of various different things happening in a complementary way over the landscape.
Yeah.
And what suits one business won't suit another, and we're all family businesses.
And as a final thing, then, how does it make you feel when you start seeing those wildflowers, those birds and animals that you remember from your childhood actually coming back?
Oh, the first orchids. First green-winged orchids on the farm, which popped up really unexpectedly, made me feel godlike, because I'd caused it to happen accidentally, and then it was right, where do we go from here? So every new species is wow.
No, it's absolutely great, and it's not just the new species either, it's the success of the species that are there. We were saying earlier about the barn owls, for instance. We've all seen more barn owls now. We've got them several farms, and you see them using the options. They fly along our buffer strips on our arable fields, collecting the shrews and the mouse and stuff. So it's really nice. Yeah,